brought a hoodie? Does anyone have a copy of House of Leaves? Can I borrow that? Let's start at one beginning. So this is from the back, some Zampano's notes. July 27, 1991. Make no mistake, those who write long books have nothing to say. Of course, those who write short books have even less to say. August 7th, 1992. How did I end up here? I know, of course, I'm referring to the itinerary I followed, but that hardly helps me understand the whys any better. I still walk out into that dusty courtyard and stand amazed. Amazed that I should have ended up stuck in such a shithole. Then I think to myself, not only did you end up here, you're going to die here too. Of course, Hollywood is the land of the blind with churches for the blind, so in my case it makes a certain sense. You think I'm bitter about being here? Yes. You think I'm bitter about this grave I live in and that bed of weeds I scratch around in? You think I am bitter about dying? What do you know? You know nothing about bitterness because you know nothing about love. Get out, get out. No, stay. Please stay. Let us read something. Forget everything I just said. It's not so bad. I'm just old. And you know a good deal about love, and I would like to think I know something more because of my age. Let us read something. So, it's a bit of a dance reading from volume 3 when there are 2 preceding volumes, and I don't want to give anything away, yet at the same time I want to give as much as you need, as we need, to make of this moment something unique. I know it's special for me because when I'm on a book tour I usually go to sort of the major cities that the publishers think are important. So to be here for the first time in 16 years is a thrill, and it's been a very warm welcome thus far. This chapter is called Hyperion. My being can never be washed away. Lone Wolf and Cub, Volume 3. Most dads, when they get a day off to spend with their 11-year-old kid, especially when it's like August and not far away from the kid's birthday, which is like in September, they go straight to Anaheim for Mickey, or to Magic Mountain for X2, or at least to the ArcLight for a Pixar flick, or at the very, very, very least, they go to a mall. Dove had taken Xanther to a sewage treatment plant. He was on some kind of recruitment training assignment at Fort Irwin, near Barstow, and he drove like 3 hours to pick up Xanther at 7 a.m. Though for Dove, getting up at 4 a.m. was pretty much like sleeping in. Even before she climbed into his Jeep, the questions started pouring out. Who was Irwin? Did Fort mean like the ones in John Wayne movies they watched together? Did the Mojave Desert have sand dunes? And what's a brigade combat team, or even just a brigade? And how does a division mean a bigger thing if its name means divide? And what had Dove done so far? Like yesterday, was he outside of the fort on the sand dunes shooting things? To which Dove chuckled and shook his head, and it took Xanther the rest of the drive to figure out that he'd gone to the dentist. Xanther didn't like going to the dentist. Do you know why we floss, kiddo? Dove had asked. To get the gunk out? To disrupt the colonies. Colonies? What's called plaque, a sticky stuff that builds up and attacks our teeth. Now trust me when I tell you, young lady, teeth are something you want to take care of. They're these rare white things that give us pleasure throughout our life and give us bite. Our inheritance, our means of survival, our right to rule. Their enamel is the front line, and that line needs to be won every day. Dove's friend, Ralph Chironi, Char, had orchestrated the tour. He was, as he explained, a wastewater operator, grade 3 solids. He'd worked at the Hyperion treatment plant for the past 2 years, and he was pretty excited about the place. More so when Dove started firing out his own questions, and boy did he have a lot, getting Xanther wondering if maybe she got her question song from him. Dove didn't stop. Everything from gallons per day, 340 million. That'll fill up the Rose Bowl 3.5 times, Char had answered proudly, and we can still handle 900 million gallons if it's storm time. To service area, whatever's uphill from us, Venice, Santa Monica, Culver City, Beverly Hills, El Segundo, Glendale, celebrities, they flush their toilets, we get it. To odor treatment, shock dosing like to manhole cover pick holes, the maze sewer systems, primary treatment versus secondary treatment, Archimedes screw pumps versus waste centrifuges, to chemical agents versus filtration options, to the use of chemicals, ferric and ferrous chloride as a settling agent. Is that right? Settling? Verbatim. Char pointed out the on-site cryogenics. See the ice on those pipes? Sometimes negative 300 degrees Fahrenheit. And the 5-mile outflow, 180 feet down on the sea floor. Dove asked about biodiversity and ecological dead zones. He asked about sludge reduction, thermoclines, heavy metals, and turbidity. How is she remembering all of this so perfectly? Xanther wore a hard hat to protect her head, more like from all the information than from anything falling. She also had to put on a hairnet. Head lice possibilities, Char explained. Some kids we take through here, you know, from some of the schools, that fact about lice, but also the question Char made out of some of the schools, like Belvedere Middle School, Thomas Starr Kane, was alive in her head as they reached the clarifying tanks. There were 36 in all. Char paused by final clarifier 5E, another 16-foot deep circular tank with clear water running over metal teeth before being sluiced out to pumps that took it all out to sea, 5 miles out. One gull perched curiously in the center. We're going backwards here at your dad's request. Next up came a first-hand view of the enormous concrete underworks, a labyrinth, dense and hollow, lined with pipes. Xanther lost count of the stairs down. Check this out, Char said, pointing back at a concrete hallway that seemed endless. You're looking at 2/3 of a mile straight. Hyperion is the biggest treatment plant west of the Mississippi, 144 acres. They filmed Logan's Run down here, Planet of the Apes, Star Trek. That's been disallowed since 9/11. No pictures, please. The digesters came next. Talk about strange. 20 huge eggs suspended underground above concrete cups. 4 stories underground that they can withstand an 8.5 earthquake, 2.5 million gallon biosolid capacity, 128 degrees Fahrenheit. Anaerobic bacterial processes take about 3 weeks to destroy, dyslexic, I guess, to destroy the pathogens. And the resultant methane that we pipe to the scattergood plant next door helps recover 80% of our energy. We're nearly self-sufficient. They took the elevator to W. That's for walkway or wow or way up here. Char said, smiling at Xanther, even if it was a fleeting thing, disconcerted by some whatever Xanther could never guess. Char looked around a lot, like at some old netting near a stairwell, because birds flew down into the labyrinth below to build nests. Happy nests can't keep nature out. Or at some orange pipes for flaring off the excess gas, steam's silver, effluent is blue. Or toward a grassy dune place fenced off by the sea where shades of sky flitted and settled, the blue butterfly preserve. Maybe Char just needed something to distract him from the smell, which Xanther had noticed kept getting worse and worse. Those air scrubbers, he pointed out proudly, hardly helped, no matter their bleach, caustic, and carbon. Xanther soon had the sleeve of her shirt pressed over her nose and mouth. Not that it helped much. By the loading dock, it was useless. Xanther even tried squeezing her nose through her shirt. Class A biosolids, around the clock, trucks coming and going. That one there, 79,000 pounds gross. Gross was right. Gross black steaming stuff getting shipped north to some farm in Kern County. Nothing though compared to the headworks. Even Dump pinched his mouth tight. Xanther thought she might throw up. Once Dove had told her a story about a dog that wouldn't stop puking. Staff Sergeant Rensley, through the blunt instrument of his voice alone, trained that dog to keep the puke in his mouth and swallow it. Xanther had been 7 at the time when they were living in Athens, Georgia, and she was wetting the bed. The wetting stopped, though never the seizures, no matter how hard Xanther tried to swallow those. Anyway, she wasn't a dog, and besides, if Xanther had thrown up at that moment, she wouldn't have swallowed anything. Xanther would have aimed, and not just to splash Dove's shoes, more like chest high, direct hit. Char didn't look so comfortable either, and he worked there. Down in this big gray pillar of the building, he seemed even more distracted, eyes dancing everywhere as he mumbled on more about sluice gates, the 8 blue bar screens, curiously numbered 2 to 9, pointing out in the halogen orange glow of the place where the mechanical teeth dragged out rags, tampons, plastic wrapping, and all that yickety-yak, don't talk back crap. Slats of slanted metal drooling brown refuse. Biosolids, not shit. Biosolids, not shit, Char kept mumbling, as he led them around to the other side, past a pipe labeled foul air, to a hole in the concrete slab floor where all the dark water flowed. Just arriving, still untouched, raw sewage. Where it all begins, where we should have started this tour, Char sighed, checking his phone, his shoelaces, his watch. Phone again, some greedy fly buzzing their ears. Muscles in Dove's jaw, big muscles too, began to flex. And then the part that Xanther's mom has always hated, what stands for those 2 silver bars that stand for captain, snapped sharply into view. Why the hell do you keep jerking your head around like that? Dove barked. Huh? Oh, sorry, Captain. ADD, I guess. What's that? Attention deficit disorder. That's something diagnosed? No, you hear about it though, online, the news. It means a short attention span, Char nodded, trying to smile. Like I like to channel surf, it drives my wife crazy. That's poppycock. You ain't got no disorder, you just got afraid somehow. Wow, did Char sag then. Like a poked balloon too sad to pop. Talk about how badly he wanted to look around then, but he didn't. ADD's just a fancy name for scaredy cat, Dove continued, trying to see what's coming after you, or trying to not see what's coming after you. Private First Class Chironi, I know you better than that. You're no fraidy K. Get back in your skin. Look steady. Walk ready. Yes, sir. Later, when Dove stepped into a restroom, Char had whispered to Xanther, I actually am a scaredy cat, but I'd do anything for him. That means for you too. Kind of weird. Char had even looked grateful after Dove got surly. Relaxed too, and he definitely didn't fidget as much. But before that, back by the hole, Dove had squatted down and turned all his focus on Xanther. Weird as well, because she also began smiling again. Her strength, which she hadn't even realized had slipped away, returned. All thoughts of revenge vomit vanishing, the smell too. Xanther dropped her shirt sleeve from her face. You're not afraid either, kiddo. Stare a thing in the eye, know it, and let it know you know it too before you let it go. You're a mud, don't forget. Xanther nearly shouted, yes sir, jubilantly too. Instead, she did something she's only managed a few times in her life. She looked straight back at those Flint eyes and didn't stop looking until Dove blinked and even looked away. Had he been afraid? Well, he sure was smiling, winking then, and softening fast, before nodding one last time at the sickening flow running beneath them a few feet away. Awful kiddo, isn't it? And by all measures of decency, we shouldn't be here. We should be at Disneyland or stuffing buttered popcorn in our yaps. But I don't get to see you so much, what with my line of work, where I go, what I'm meant for, what Char here had the smarts and courage to get out of. Dove looked at his friend. I mean that, Char. You served honorably. I'm proud to have called you one of my men before returning to Xanther. So kiddo, I don't want to waste what few hours we have together pretending the world's some ride with guardrails. I want to respect your time, even though you're 10 or 11, even though you might not get this now, but maybe you will later. Actually, this is where she dropped her sleeve. So I want to tell you something I know to be true, tell you something that shapes what I do. And it's not particularly sweet, and some might even say it's a little cruel. If less distracted, Char was back to looking uneasy. There's a lot of talk about unity and oneness, especially that Buddhist bullcrap, which you'll come across soon enough, as well as other hippie garbage your mom likes to think she believes in. Anwar too. Heck, don't get me wrong, I'd like to believe it too, but the way the world works, that's not what I see. That's not what I know. I've been to China, India, I've walked their roads of enlightenment, but all I saw was disease, destitution, and delusion, and a total disregard for the individual, a regard that makes this country we live in the best there is, a light on the hill, a miracle to the world. So I brought you here this morning to show you unity, oneness, a big mix of everything, from the purest water to the foulest excretion the mind can imagine, a population's salivas, defecations, urinations, blood, vomit, and tears, dead rats, dead birds, garbage disposal pulp, drug deals gone wrong, body parts solvent, things as benign as newspapers and cotton swabs up to perfectly fine unconsumed food. Probably perfumes too, expensive perfumes. You name it, some of it's in here. And what does it make? That's right, kiddo. Not so pretty, huh? This is a world without boundaries. This is what happens when there are no divisions. Look at it, Xanther. Breathe it in. Breathe it in. Never forget. This is what you get when there is no law. This is what you get when the teeth lose.